The clear but soft-spoken voice of Marjorie Mason. It was recorded by sheriff's deputies, November 10, 1978, 2 days after Mason was kidnapped, raped, and beaten by her former boyfriend, Robert Tillman. 3 days before, the Fresno County Sheriff's deputy and courthouse bailiff committed murder-suicide, ending both their lives. Mason, I fear the fact that he is doing weird things. He has said, if I have to go to jail, you aren't going to be here. Then she said to the man who would eventually take her life, what are you saying? Are you going to kill me, then kill yourself in one of those lover's suicide things? Mason added to the deputies, I was being sarcastic, but I was afraid. When asked by sheriff's officers why it took so long to report the rape, the beating, I don't want him to approach me. I don't want to be hurt.
What's up with Jay?
On Monday, November 13th, 1978, I received a phone call, and it was Edith. And she just said, Jess, Bob killed Marge. And all I remember is that somebody was screaming, and it was actually me.
One of my deputies received a call of a disturbance at a home in Easton. And we knocked on the door and we rang the doorbell and we got no answer at all. So we walked around to the rear of that home and the patio door was standing wide open and a curtain was blowing out. So we searched the house and there was nobody at the house at all. I did notice, and maybe for no reason, but there was several buttons that on the floor, large buttons like maybe been torn off some clothing. So I went into the kitchen to the telephone, but when I started to dial the number, there was a letter laying there on the table. And it said Marjorie Mason, and I said, oh no, Bob Tillman has got her again. When I arrived at his house, his car, which I knew, was parked in the driveway and the license plate said Big Till. And so we knocked on the door and we got no answer. The hood was hot on the car. I knew he was in there. I just knew. So I walked to where I could see the back of the house and I looked over the fence and it was a huge dog. And he immediately ran to the fence and was just, growling and he wanted to eat me up, he appeared. But each time that he would do that, he would go back to the house and he'd look up at the bedroom window. He did that about 4 times. So I just stayed real quiet and I kept standing at that window. Pretty soon the blind pulled back and Bob Tillman looked at me. And I yelled at the guys, he's in there, he's in there. And so I started to run and I heard 3 shots, bang, bang, bang.
My sister was a very private person, very private person. And she always kind of would say, don't tell anybody, because she loved us so much until if one of us got hurt, she couldn't have survived.
Marge touched the lives of so many people. She was just a giver. She was an encourager. How she would have the kids over. She would be encouraging them to continue your education. That's the way that you advance yourself. If you want to have a good salary, you're going to have a good job. And she would really, really push those kinds of things.
Marge's name was so well known. She worked in the center. She worked with the women. And when they called our parents and asked our parents could they name the center after Marjorie, that spoke for who she was.
She'd be proud because that's what she was all about. Yes. It's saving lives, and helping people get through any situation that she can possibly help them in.
The Marjorie Mason Center is extremely important to our community. On a monthly basis, we have on average, about 50 children living in our emergency shelter. When children come to our program, they've been through traumatic events in their life. So I like to say that they're just ordinary children, but they've been through extraordinary circumstances. The children thrive with positive influences in their lives, and I'm honored when they want to share with me what they've been through because it means that they trust me. That gives me hope that they can learn to trust people because there's been so much pain and so much hurt in their lives.
I'm sad, but I'm happy that the legacy and the memory of her is still there. And it's going to stay there for a while. And for our younger children, I have older daughters, we all have daughters, and we have informed them so much of what this is about.
If children don't have clothing, if children don't have toys to play with, if children don't have a bed to sleep in, I know they're not in a good place, and I know that this center provides it.
I support the Marjorie Mason Center because it has an effect and a change in people's lives. It brings them from the darkness of despair into the light of happiness and understanding, and renews their opportunity to reach forward in their lives.
Multitudes and multitudes of families have been impacted by this center. This is a place where you can get help. You can get help.
Marjorie Mason, life was taken. Tragic, definitely. But I see triumph here because of what has come from it.
She was my sister. And I know that a legacy like this would be something that she would lay her life down again for.